Welcome to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast, your daily audio summary of the latest news reported in the Ukrainian media. We would really appreciate if you could give us a 5-star rating and leave a glowing review in the app where you are listening to this podcast. It will help us to guide more people to the highlights from Ukraine. Thank you. My name is Artem, and here is the news. 176 days less the Russian invasion of Ukraine. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky visited Lviv yesterday for a series of bilateral and trilateral meetings, reports Interfax Ukraine. Zelensky and Guterres agreed to continue coordination of the Grain Initiative implementation, discussed the possible directions of its development, the issue of illegal and forced deportation of Ukrainians, the release of Ukrainian military personnel and medics from Russian captivity. Special attention was paid to the topic of Russia's nuclear blackmail at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Zelensky believes that the UN must ensure the security of this strategic object, its demilitarization and complete liberation from Russian troops. The President of Ukraine and the UN Secretary-General agreed on the parameters of a possible International Atomic Energy Agency mission to the Zaporizhzhia plant. They also agreed that it should be carried out in a legal way through the Ukrainian territory free from invaders. The President also noted the importance of UN assistance in the release of Ukrainian prisoners of war held by Russia and ensuring Russia's compliance with Geneva Conventions regarding them. Guterres announced plans to send a UN mission to establish the facts in Olenivka, where many Ukrainian prisoners of war were killed. Zelensky and Guterres also discussed the idea of creation of a special tribunal for the crime of aggression committed by Russia against Ukraine, as well as a new international mechanism for compensation for damage from Russian aggression. At a bilateral meeting, President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan discussed defense cooperation, the situation around the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, and the issue of grain exports from Ukraine, reports Interfax Ukraine. Regarding the exports, leaders discussed the possibility of improving the initiative, strengthening the security of its implementation, and increasing the volume. They touch upon the issue of the grain that Russia has stolen from the occupied territories of Ukraine, which is estimated to be around 500,000 tons. The leaders agreed that any trade in stolen goods was unacceptable. During the visit, sides agreed a memorandum of understanding on the restoration of infrastructure, providing for Turkey's participation in the post-war reconstruction of Ukraine. As the first project, the restoration of the bridge in the village of Romanivka, Kyiv region, connecting the cities of Bucha and Irpin with the capital, is being considered. The trilateral meeting of Zelensky, Erdogan and Guterres lasted for 40 minutes behind closed doors, reports Ukrainska Pravda. After the meeting, the President of Ukraine said that negotiations with Russia are possible only when Russian troops leave the illegally occupied territory of Ukraine. At the same time, the Turkish President said he keeps faith that the war will end at the negotiating table, building upon the positive results of the Istanbul Agreement on grain and ideas discussed back in March to reach a ceasefire after Russia withdraws to the lines before the February 24th. He added that intends to discuss the results of the Lviv negotiations with Zelensky and Guterres with Vladimir Putin. Head of the Ukrainian Foreign Ministry Dmytro Kuleba assured that there was no pressure on Ukraine during this meeting to make concessions in favor of Russia. The main intelligence agency of Ukraine warns about possible provocations at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant on August 19th, reports Ukrinform. According to intelligence, only operational personnel will be allowed to the Zaporizhzhia power plant and all other employees will not be allowed to enter. It is also known that representatives of Russian nuclear agency Rosatom, who have recently been constantly at the station, urgently left the territory of the facility. At the same time, the Russian Defense Ministry said that during a visit to Ukraine by UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, a provocation is allegedly being prepared to accuse Russia of a man-made disaster. In the evening of August 18th, residents of Kerch in the occupied Crimea heard explosions. The so-called authorities announced that it was the air defense system that allegedly shot down a drone, reports Ukrainska Pravda. Another report informs about the explosions at the military airfield near Sevastopol, again in Crimea. This time the occupational authorities also said that it was sound of the air defense system working. Later, Russian social media users shared information about a fire at an ammunition depot in the Belgorod region of Russia close to the Ukrainian border. Reportedly, residents of two nearby villages were evacuated. The General Staff of Ukraine informs that the Russian forces try to advance in numerous directions in the Donetsk region and actively use the artillery along the entire front line, reports Union. The Ukrainian Serhiy Prytula Foundation announced that it bought rights to use space satellites for the Ukrainian army, reports Forbes Ukraine. From now on, the Ukrainian military will get access to a database of satellite images from the constellation of ICI satellites and will be able to receive high-quality intelligence on the enemy's positions. The access was bought using over $15 million that the foundation raised a while ago for 3 Bayraktar drones, which the manufacturer decided to transfer for free. Our Patreon supporters get access to a cool new series on wartime life in Ukraine. To join the club, follow the link in the description below. We call on you to demand from governments of your countries to impose the toughest sanctions possible on Russia and its citizens to stop their invasion of Ukraine. Thank you.